This is the MYFORD University Podcast, episode 10. We're going to talk about the BCG matrix. Hello, colleagues. Welcome back to MYFORD University Podcast. I'm your host, George Sloan. This is the show where we make business simple, strategic, and practical, without the fluff. Today, we're talking about one of the cleanest, clearest, and most useful tools to come out of business school, the BCG matrix. BCG stands for Boston Consulting Group Matrix. If you've ever wondered which product, service, or idea in your business deserves more attention and which ones need to go, this tool will help you decide. It's fast, it's visual, and it's strategic. And the best part, you don't need an MBA to use it. Let's break it down. What is the BCG matrix? Well, the BCG matrix is also called the Growth Share Matrix and was created by Boston Consulting Group. It's a 2x2 grid that helps you categorize your products or services or business units based on two things: market growth rate and relative market share. Okay? This is another one of those tools, very much like SWOT analysis, that can be used in multiple deliverable products. Business plans, it can be used in strategic plans, marketing plans, and you shouldn't just be looking at your products and services, you should also be looking at those of your competitors. You might also do this on a very high-level strategic approach where you use it for portfolio management, trying to decide what you need to continue to cultivate and what you need to possibly weed out. Okay, so with that, we talked about the 2x2 grid, we talked about market growth rate versus relative market share, and from those you get four categories. Number one, stars. Number two, cash cows. Number three, question marks. And number four, dogs. We're going to get into each one of them. Each category tells you something different, and it helps you make better decisions. Okay, why does the BCG matrix matter? Well, look, business isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things. Think about that one for a second. You can't do everything. You want to do the right things. The BCG matrix actually helps you allocate time and money wisely, avoid emotional decision making, prioritize moves that move the needle, and stop wasting energy on things that don't pay off. Whether you've got 2 offers or 20, this tool gives you clarity, and it gives it to you fast. In business, clarity is leverage. All right, let's get down to it, the nitty-gritty on this one. We're going to break down the 4 quadrants. So we'll go through each one. We'll start with stars. Stars are high growth and high market share. These are the ones that you really want. These are the home runs that really get you solid market position and solid profit margin. Okay? They're going to be the ones that you try to turn and cultivate into, because this is where your company experiences high growth and, of course, high market share. Effectively, it's where you're crushing in a market that's growing fast. Stars need investment to scale, but they're your future cash cows, and you'll understand that in a second. The strategy here is to invest, grow them, expand them, and defend them. An example, think of an iPhone when smartphones exploded. Apple had market dominance in a very hot market. Okay? Now, to give you some perspective, you want your stars to give you the growth in the near term, but in the future, as things taper off, they may transition into what are known as cash cows. So cash cows are low growth but high market share. When you own the market, but it's not growing as fast, it's still not a bad place to be. This is your steady income. The market isn't growing much, but you've already won and you have a place of dominance, and now you're just continuing to milk this cash cow. Hence the name. All right. The strategy here is to maximize margins and use the profits to fund growth elsewhere. In other words, you want to take the profits from this and start developing more stars, and the process kind of continues on and on. Cash cows fund the stars turn into cash cows, and the process continues. All right, an example. Coca-Cola Classic. The market wasn't growing, but it generates billions of profit. And that's why you'll see them do rollouts of other products. Now, let's not talk about the new Coke. That was a disaster. But the bottom line is it's a steady, stable brand that gives a nice margin. It's not high growth, but it's where there's plenty of profit, and that profit can be rolled into other potential stars. All right, next, question marks. These are high growth situations, but there's low market share. It's kind of the wild card, okay? This one's kind of interesting because these are either going to turn into stars or they're going to turn into the next one we're going to cover, dogs. So high growth, low market share. They're a growing market, but you're not leading, or at least not yet. The strategy here is to evaluate quickly and carefully. Some are worth investing so that you can turn them into stars. Others should be cut quickly. You don't want to have a stable of dogs, okay? An example, a new course or product with potential but low traction. It could turn into something big, or it might have missed the timing of the market, or it might not have enough oomph behind it. That gets us to the next one, dogs. Dogs are low growth, low market share. This is what's eating your time and giving you little in return. Okay? I'm going to be doing the Pareto principle and talking about 80-20 at some point. This kind of gets into that. Your dogs, you do not want them to be a large part of your portfolio because, again, they take up your time and give very little in reward. So the strategy is to cut it, to sell it, or repurpose it. Don't let your ego keep it alive. There's a great expression from the book Good to Great, Jim Collins. What got us here is not what's going to get us there. This thing might have been a star at one point, but it's turned into it went down to a cash cow, and then it basically started to die out, and it's now a dog. So what got us here is not what's going to get us there. Okay? Next. Let me give you an example. This is a legacy product that you never really promote, but still supported out of habit. Eventually, you need to put this thing out and put it out of its misery because it's sucking, your energy, efficiencies, profit right out of you. So get rid of them. Next, how do you use it? And let me give you a step-by-step approach. So here's how to put this tool into action. Ready? Number 1, list your products or services. There should be 3 to 10 core offerings. Okay? Assess the market growth. Is the space growing or stagnant? Use industry trends, look at data, even Google Trends. This is where I was getting at before. You can't just look at your own products. You got to look at the whole picture, including your competitors. You can't operate in a vacuum. So, number 3, you want to assess the market share. Are you one of the top players, or are you not even close? Now, that's not to say that you can't carve out a little niche, but that's a different strategy. We're talking about, do you own the market or not? And can you operate within it? Next, place each one of them into the matrix. Use your best judgment, but be honest. Intellectual honesty, people. Objectivity. That's what we need. Don't inflate your position. Be brutally honest. Otherwise, you're going to get no impact out of this. It's not going to be effective. Then you decide what to do. That's step 5. You invest in the stars. Put time, effort, money into the stars. You maintain the cash cows. They're still bringing money in for you, but you don't want to waste a lot of time and energy. You want to kind of go on cruise control with them and keep milking the profits. You want to test the question marks. Again, I said before, question marks could turn into stars or they can turn into dogs. Remember, stars usually transition into cash cows and then ultimately turn into dogs. But question marks could go to stars or they could go to dogs. It's just a question of what to do. Finally, drop your dogs. It's a simple strategy and it's simple to do. Okay? Let me give you a couple of real examples. Let's say you run a small business with these 4 offers. Ready? Strategic workshops, growing demand, solid client base. Retainer packages, steady but no growth. Online courses, hot market but low sales. Branded workbooks, not selling, low engagement. Can you figure out which ones are which? I did keep it easy. They're kind of in the correct order. The strategic workshops are the stars. Growing demand, solid base. The retainer packages are the cash cows. They're steady, but there's not a lot of growth. The courses are a question mark. It's a hot market, but the sales are low. You don't know whether they're going to be a star or a dog. The branded workbooks, which are not selling, very low engagement, those are your dogs. Now the decisions become obvious. Double down on those workshops, maintain the retainer work, test and optimize the course funnel, and phase out those workbooks. That's the strategy. And it probably took you about 10 minutes instead of weeks of analysis to figure it out. But again, you have to be brutally honest. I've used this tool time and time again. You don't want to throw good money after bad. You want to make sure that you're making investments for the future. But you have to be looking at this. It's kind of a portfolio approach, but it also is a strategic business decision approach. All right. As usual, we'll talk about some common mistakes and pitfalls. Let's talk about what not to do. Don't hang on to dogs just because you built them. Don't hang on to dogs just because you built them. What got us here is not what's going to get us there. After a while, and I know quite a few situations that I've been in where I see this. They're hanging on to the past and they're not investing in the future. Just because it was your idea doesn't mean it still deserves your energy. Your energy should be going into creating new stuff, better stuff, building the future. Okay, another one. Don't try to grow everything. You have limited bandwidth, limited resources, you need to focus. So that's why, again, brutal honesty is your best friend here. Another thing, do not ignore the data. Market growth and market share are real. Use research, use sales trends and customer feedback. And don't manipulate the data. Look at it, interpret it, and make decisions based on it. Finally, do not mistake a question mark for a star. Hype is not performance. Make sure your potential plays actually have legs. As I said, a question mark could go to be a star or it could be a dog. You don't know. You got to keep testing. You got to keep looking. Check the data. Be brutally honest. Okay, when to use the BCG matrix? I kind of hinted at this before. It kind of fits almost everywhere in MBA style deliverables, business deliverables. Okay, you can use it during your quarterly planning meeting, when you're overwhelmed by too many offers. I told you the story about when Steve Jobs came back to Apple. They had dozens of products, and he turned around and said, you know what, we're going to focus on the 3 or 4. That was it. Next, you can use it before you invest money into a project or continue to invest money into a project, or when you're pivoting and pruning. Sometimes, you can sell these things off. What might not fit in your portfolio might fit in somebody else's, so don't just discount it completely. It's especially helpful and important to use this when you feel stuck, okay? Often the problem isn't that you're not working hard enough, it's you're working hard on the wrong things. Again, we're going to get into the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule. In a nutshell, that basically says 80% of your profits, for example, come from 20% of your products. That means 20% of your profits come from 80% of your products. So that's where Steve Jobs came in and said, look, we're going to focus on the future and we're going to let these other things go, at least for the time being. So it's important that you work on the right things and get rid of or ignore the wrong things. All right, some final thoughts and some action steps. The BCG matrix helps you think like a capital allocator, not just a doer. This also works with capital budgeting, and CapEx management. CapEx being capital expenditures management. All right, so stop treating all the products equally and get strategic about your bets. You want to cut what's not working and you want to build what is working. Be brutally honest and don't be wed to something just because it was the original or you built it. Sometimes things change and it's time to let them go. So here's what I want you to do this week. Write down 3 to 5 products or services or projects. Ask yourself, is the market growing? Do I have a strong position? Next, drop each into the matrix, star, cash cow, question mark, or dog. And finally, decide, invest, maintain, test, or kill. Now, this works for business units, companies, it works for products, it works for services. But if you think about this, you could even use it on your own, for your own purposes. You want to look at your skill sets, for example, which is what a lot of what we talk about here, building your skill sets. Some things are the past and other things are the future. If you're still working in some old technology, it might be time to spend a little more time developing your skills in AI, for example. So again, you can, if you don't want to do products and services or projects, do your skill set and evaluate them from this perspective of the BCG matrix. So that's it. That's how you think like a strategist, whether you've got a small business, a side hustle, or a multi-million-dollar portfolio. You don't need an MBA to make smart moves. You just need the right mindset and the right tools, like the BCG matrix. And this is definitely one of those tools. All right, that's it for today's episode. If it helped you out in terms of thinking differently about your offers, share it with a friend, a colleague, or a business partner. And if you want the full article, go to myforduniversity.com/blog, or go and look at the newsletter for a shorter form version. Until next time, make better decisions, build what matters, and focus on what works. Thank you.